Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne here with you on this Friday morning. Big football weekend right now. Tommy Kane's going to join us here in the first segment from over in the Queen City, Charlotte, just north of Gastonia. Checking in, talking some ACC, and they're playing some pretty damn good football over there. And also got some interesting trivia I'm going to throw at Tommy. And Tommy is he's a basketball savant and football, and he knows his stuff. But it's pretty cool. And I think it'll blow everybody's mind, but saw it on the color TV last night. Second segment, we're going to be joined by Vince Ferrara from over in Knoxville, talking Big Orange. They got a big matchup this weekend against South Carolina. And that will be a good game. Revenge doesn't win games. If that were the case, the bad teams would be undefeated every other year probably, but it just doesn't work that way. But I think Tennessee will be motivated when the Gamecocks come to town. Spencer Rattler playing some of the best football, not just in the SEC, but in America as a quarterback, but he cannot do it alone. Joe Milton, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a hell of a matchup tomorrow in Knoxville. Hour number 2, we got the Texas duo, Ken Capps, Football Writers Association of America. That's why I'm wearing my cowboy shirt from Hewlett and Dunn, boot and clothing company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. They're open Monday through Saturday. 10 a.m., 6 p.m. And Audrey and I were out there Monday. Going to stop by there again today on the way down to Auburn for the Georgia game. Big weekend. Man, they've got just the other day over 40 boxes of new stuff came in. Pendleton, Schaefer, Vask, Hire, Old South. Largest order of Filson that Charles has ever made is coming in. He and Laura Raven, they have great looking stuff. Women's clothing off the charts. Great stuff. They've got I'll tell you, the Devil Dog jeans are the best. If you're a size 40, you wear a 38. A 34, you wear a 32. So it makes you feel good about it. Over 7,000 pairs of boots. And they've always got a lot of stuff on the 50% off rack. They've got rock mount shirts, the ones Elvis and Ronald Reagan and Bob Dylan love to wear. Bob Dylan still wears them at 80 plus on the road. 6 days a week, 25 shows a month, folks. We do it over 300 shows a year, and we have the best guests. And I'm going to go ahead and bring him in here right now. Tommy Kane, Wolfpack right now. And Tommy, pretty cool stat. I love the show. I love it, man. Look, school pride. And you know, I'm an Auburn grad, but I love to see SEC, ACC. And a lot of people out here, they want conferences to fail. And I'm like, you're out of your ever-loving mind. What's going on in the Pac-12 is exciting because you need the brand to be good around the country. But you ready for this crazy stat? 4 of the 5 winningest basketball programs in history, Kansas, North Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, and Syracuse is like 6th or 7th. I think Temple's 5th. But Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, and Syracuse are all 4-0 in football. Now that, I think, is one of the best stories in college football. Not just what Deion's doing out at Colorado, which is exciting. You may like him, you may not, but He's making people talk about football a lot, but that's a pretty cool story. And I got to say, as soon as you think you got the coolest car in the parking lot, somebody else gets a better car for their birthday or for Christmas. ACC's playing some pretty damn good football right now. Chief Osceola looks like he's the king of college football right now.
Yeah, man. Good to see you, Rob, on a Friday morning. I'm excited because our Wolfpack play tonight, actually, in Louisville. Playing against Louisville tonight in Raleigh. But it's the second week in a row on a Friday night the Wolfpack have played, which is kind of fun. It makes Saturdays for me a lot easier because you don't have to sweat through the day on Saturday about your team winning or losing. You already know going in. So, but yeah, the ACC's playing great right now, Rob. They really are. I mean, who would have ever thought that Duke and North Carolina would be like 15, 17 in the country? That you talk about those two teams, you think right away, you think the hardwood, you think Cameron Indoor and the Dean Dome, and you just think about basketball rivalry. But there's 2 good teams right there with some good quarterback play, which I think is the key to both of those teams right there. And then Florida State as well. I mean, Florida State is golly, well, I mean, it wasn't that long ago. Florida State was just struggling, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they've just turned that program around in a couple of years like that, and they're right back where they, were the top 5 in the country, and don't look like they don't look like a fluke. Like
No.
Duke and North Carolina still are like, okay, let's see them play somebody really, really big and good and see what happens. But Florida State looks legit. And then who would have thought that Clemson would be 0-2 in the ACC?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
It is. Well, you just said wait till Duke or North Carolina play somebody legit. Opening day, Labor Day, Duke, Clemson, Duke 28, Clemson 7. Interesting stat. 56 4- and 5-star players on that Clemson roster, only 2 on the Duke roster from Mike Elko in his, second year after being the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame and then Texas A&M. Pretty damn impressive to me.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, no doubt. And it just goes to, if you ask me, I mean, we used to do a show on back in my Fox Sports days called Countdown to Signing Day. It was a hugely popular show around the Southeast about recruiting. And, we'd all bring in these, get these recruits and come in and their star rating and 4 or 5-star, whatever. I've always thought, me personally, that's a little overrated because that doesn't register the heart of the kid. It doesn't register like his work ethic and how he's going to blossom into what he's going to be when he gets into a college program. And I always thought that the star rating in high school was a little overrated. And it goes to show you, like, look at Duke. I mean, they got 2 of them, and they're number 17 in the country and whipped up on Clemson the first game of the year that's loaded with them. So coaching's a big factor in that, but it's just about kids buying in too and buying into what's going on and believing in it. Much like Deion's doing out in Colorado right now. I mean, granted, they got handed to him last weekend, but look, people forget they won 1 game last year. 1 game. They've won 2 games, 2 good games already this year, and we'll probably win 3 or 4 more probably before it's all said and done. But like he said in his press conference after the game the other day, like, don't count him out. Like, he's don't bet against him because he's doing the right things. He really is.
Well, I like what he said. Deion said, "Look, what you saw out there today, get a good look at it because that's as bad as we're ever going to be." And I mean, they may get stomped tomorrow by Southern Cal, but you're right. He's got those guys believing, and it's hard to go out and bring in 65 or 70, whatever, new guys via the portal, high school, whatever, and build a culture. When you are working together, and I use you as an example, I feel like I'm in court and I'm not an attorney, but say Exhibit A, Kane Thomas, because that's how Maury, the first time I ever got your contact, it says Kane in all caps, comma, Thomas. So, but Tommy, you grit and grind the whole time at NC State as a walk-on, as a manager. But when they called your number, you were ready. And you remember that every day of your life. I bet you when you get in a jam or a tight spot or, tough times don't last forever, but tough people do. But you also remember, think about it, if you would have quit, where would you be? You stuck it out. I have a lot more respect, not that I don't for the starters, but for the guys that are on the scout team or whatever. And I'm looking going, you went through that for 4 or 5 years, did it right, got your degree and whatever. Yes, sir. When can you start? I keep saying that, but that's how I look at it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Rob. I mean, that's, we've talked about this at nauseum on the show, but, the transfer portal has just ruined that. And it's ruined let's stick to a job, have a good work ethic, grind and grind and grind and get yourself better and get yourself in a position to play and a position to win. And, you just don't see that now in college sports as much. It's still there. Don't get me wrong. There's still a lot of kids that are, die hard. I want to play for NC State all my life. And they go there and they work their way up until they're a senior and they get good playing time. But there's, for the most part, people, the seems like all you hear about is, oh, I'm not playing. I'm transferring. Oh, I'm not. Coaches and giving me, playing me in the right position. I want to play defensive back, not wide receiver. I'm out, and just transfer out. And it's like, we've talked about this before. I just think it sends the wrong message. But yes, the kids that work it and grind it and put the time in throughout the years, those are the kids you really want to pull for at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. And what's the dog's name? Look, Audrey, come check out his dog.
This is Grady.
Grady. I love it.
My dad had a Grady white boat. And so when my dad passed and I got him a couple years later, I named him Grady after my dad's boat, Grady white boats.
I love it, man. Good looking dog. Hey, and I'm looking here from Friar Tuck. Love these names. And some of them I have to put They just come in as a comment with no name. So it's Friar Tuck in Moncks Corner, South Carolina. That seems appropriate. Right outside of Charleston. What's happening to Clemson? At least he didn't spell it with a P.
Clemson.
Damn right.
You know what? That's a great question. I mean, look, I haven't thrown the towel in yet on Clemson. I mean, they just don't have the quarterback play that they're used to having over the past couple of years or decade, really. So they just don't put up the numbers and don't have the offensive firepower like they used to have. But they still got a whole lot of good players. Their defense is still pretty solid. They're going to be okay. I would be shocked if they don't make a bowl, right? I think they'll get their 6 wins somewhere throughout the year, and then they'll get to a bowl game. And the Clemson fan base, and rightfully so, has got a really high standard of what they should be. And look, the fact of the matter is like in college football these days, look at Alabama. Like, you're not going to have dynasty teams anymore, or that have 2 or 3 back-to-back, seasons where you're going to be vying for a championship. I mean, Georgia will probably see that in the next couple of years too. They're going to start falling because the transfer portal is killing all that, because these teams can all of a sudden become out of nowhere and be really good. But don't throw the towel in yet on Clemson. They're going to be okay. Dabo's too good of a coach, and he's going to have to buy into the transfer. Dabo doesn't take any transfers. Yeah. And I think I appreciate him for that. But I think if at the end of the day, if they're going to want to win, they're going to have to start tapping into that.
Yeah. And here's another way I look at Clemson. From 91 to 2011, they went on a 20-year streak. They didn't win the ACC after the great Danny Ford era. And then they bring in 2011, Chad Morris changed the offense. They got better. 2015, played for and lost the national championship to Alabama. 2016, played for against Bama and won with Hunter Renfrow, the walk-on, last play of the game. 2018, beat Alabama in Santa Clara, California, the most unusual location I could ever dream of in my drunkest stupor for a national championship game. They beat Alabama 44-18. 2019, it was a public beheading when they played LSU. So they played for the national championship 4 times in a 5-year period. Right. And now, there are changes, but Clemson, they have a lot of money, but so does NC State. Any school with a strong engineering program has a lot of money. And I think Clemson, Dabo will adapt. He's too competitive. That's just my take. But again, I like to say, you play during the regular season these matchups. Who right now in the SEC would willingly want to go play at Clemson? I don't care. NC State at night, Florida State at night. Who wants to go? I mean, during the regular season. I'm not talking about some bowl game. This is why, I like that. What's happening to Clemson? Well, how about this game tomorrow night? Notre Dame and Duke. Tonight, NC State, they're 3-1. Louisville's 4-0. This is some pretty damn good TV to watch.
Yeah, it is. I mean, who would have thought game day would be parking in Durham, North Carolina for a college football game? I mean, that just to me is that came out last week, and we kind of anticipated. I'm on a text chain with a bunch of buddies of mine that work for ESPN and Raycom Sports and all those guys, and everybody's watching games last week. And when Notre Dame was winning, and then came back. When Notre Dame ended up losing that game last week, they said, "Oh, I bet the game day goes to Duke," and sure enough, they did. And it's just great. I mean, that's what's having Friday night games like tonight. It's like Friday night high school football, right? It's like it's got that buzz in the air. I'm sure there's probably people who are already starting to try to tailgate in Raleigh right now. I mean, that's just the way they are. And but that's awesome. And college football is great. So you're talking about Louisville, and you're like, oh, not much better. But Louisville is a good football team. They will put up points left and right. And, the Wolfpack kind of hangs their hat this year on the defense because their offense is okay, but it's not great. Yeah. But their defense is what keeps them in games. So it'll be interesting, great television to watch. And then tomorrow, Duke and Notre Dame. I mean, it's just good stuff. And then last week, the matchups in college football was like you couldn't write up a better script, right? So
no, you're not going to. And then Clemson's got to go to Syracuse. They lost up there in 2017, I think. Dino Babers. Syracuse is 4-0. These when you win, it doesn't matter what people think you're going to do in middle of July when they're reading a football magazine over at Kiowa Island having martinis. What matters is how you match up on that particular Saturday, Tommy.
100%.
I love that. Yeah.
100%. I mean, look, yeah, Syracuse could put Clemson at 0-3. You know, Syracuse beats Clemson this weekend. Clemson's 0-3. I mean, you know, you'd have to start digging into the stat books to find out the last time the Clemson Tigers went 0-3 at the beginning of the year. And you're probably gonna have to knock some dust off of a couple of stat books to find that, because it's probably been a while. But you know, yeah, it's college football and what you're dealing with now with the transfer portal. I mean, there's guys. Not only that, Rob, but one of the things I thought about was interesting last week is the age of some of these players.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are grown men.
Yep.
Playing college football because they've been transferring around or doing whatever, and they're in their 6th or 7th year of college football.
Yep.
I mean, you know, so now that's a big difference, because you're talking about couple more years in the weight room, couple more years of maturity and growth, and you got some big time players on out there that could be, you know, it should be if they're good enough to be playing in the NFL. So like you're talking about grown men. I saw somebody the other day. I think it was like, he was 28 years old or something, playing football and college football against a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds. I mean, so it's just the nature of the business and the sport these days, and we got to get used to it as fans. I still don't know if I ever will. We've talked about this before. Like, I mean, I don't even know who half the players on the team are. They're coming from different universities, especially when it comes to basketball. Like the whole team is like made up of a hodgepodge of players from all different schools and whatever. And you don't have that allegiance to the player necessarily. Like, you know, I'm pulling for Brennan Armstrong this year as my quarterback. He was at Virginia for the last couple of years, and I was against him as far as a player. I was like,
there you go.
I don't like him, you know. And now he's my quarterback, and I'm like, oh, I guess I gotta like him, even though he's wearing a Cavaliers jersey last year.
Yes.
So, you know, it's just that has dampened the college football landscape, but overall, like, there's just some good football out there right now.
Well, you know, again, what I do in addition to the show since May of 91 as a financial advisor, I look at market trends. The free market's going to correct this. And I tell you how it's going to correct in the NIL. The fans will grow weary of guys, you know, bounty jumpers, you know, every year moving around. Now, look, you have 2 little windows, December into January, and then mid-April to early May. And you can transfer the first time as of now and be eligible immediately. And then the second time, you got to sit out a year. So that's going to slow down, you know, that's going to curb that, I believe, a lot. The second thing is these NIL collectives out there and dealing with families and wealth management. Again, a family with $50 million gets a $75 bill for an account maintenance fee. What the hell is this? Trust me, that they ask those kind of questions. Number 2, what I think is going to happen is the fans are going to say, okay, we're not participating in this collective crap until now. We've seen this enough. We've been burned enough. Let's put a contract in place. Kid gets NIL. He doesn't get any of it until he hits the benchmarks. He's got to stay here at least 3 years and stuff like that. You put some teeth in those contracts, you'll stop this stuff. Money talks, bull spit walks.
I mean, it's a great point, Rob. It's a great point. I mean, you know, I think it's going to come down to, you know, like contracts in the college, in the professional levels, right? I mean, you got contracts, you got signed deals, you got incentive-based things, you got everything else to kind of make you continue to work hard and do whatever and be loyal to the team. I mean, I guess you could start seeing that with the NIL shake on it. And I read the other day, and you probably talked about this in your show, but I think it's Alabama's now going to start licensing their former players' jerseys. So you can go get a Joe Namath jersey and just have Namath on the back of it, and Namath will get a cut of it. You know, you're going to start licensing their names on the back of the jerseys, because it used to be you just could get the number. You couldn't put their name on it with an Alabama, but now they can. So that's going to open up that's going to be interesting to see how that all works. And, you know, but it's a part of what America is, right? It's a free enterprise. Go out there and get whatever money you can get, make your money, do it with your name and your likeness or whatever. And so I don't really have a problem with the NIL when it comes to the college sports. I think it's going to be very swayed, and you'll see it more and more as the seasons go on with the big money universities, the Oregon and the Nikes and the Texas oil people and all that stuff, where they're going to start having they're literally just going to be buying teams and buying players. So that disappoints me a little bit, but I think I'd much rather keep the NIL around and do what it's doing for the players than the transfer portal. Transfer portal to me, I think, is just is a debacle. So.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I really believe it will correct. I've seen it in different industries, guys moving and getting paid up front, and they go and they don't like it and they want to move. Well, they got to pay all that money back. I mean, they don't read the contract. The big print, as Shoney says, it giveth. The small print at the bottom of the page is taketh away. I saw that and I heard it yesterday. Alabama Forever, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
And I think Bill Battle, who started a company called Collegiate Licensing, and I think he sold it for $100 million or something when he sold it. But I think he's involved in that. Very, very smart man.
Yeah,
and
he's starting it. Yeah.
So it'll be fun, and I think it's for all student athletes.
And he played at Alabama, I believe. Bill Battle.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. And so I look at this, and I'm thinking, holy cow! You're not gonna people that are investing. Like I heard a figure 6 weeks ago. Auburn had $19 million in the checking account for NIL. Also heard what Ken Capps and Bo Carter, my Texas duo that'll be on in the next hour, said. If A&M were to fire Jimbo without cause this year, they're going to have to come up with $75 million. On top of the $25 million they paid Kevin Sumlin to go away. Enough 8 and 5 every year for that money. And Ken said, do you know how many kids this could send to Texas A&M on scholarship? At some point, people are going to realize, look, I don't mind a coach making $10 million if you think about what he brings to the university. But when you're paying guys to go away, the people that put those deals together should be held accountable and lose their jobs too.
Oh, I mean, forget trying to buy lottery tickets. I'm just going to go become a college head coach somewhere and tank it and just get fired and take my severance package of $4 or $5 million and walk on and not even worry about it. But I mean, that's on the low end, right? But yeah, I mean, that's like what other job in America does that happen, right? I mean, where you can get completely just canned because you're not doing your job right, and they're going to give you, millions and millions of dollars to leave the company. I mean, again, it's just the business that we all work in and we live in, and people want to. And then you wonder why. The other thing is you wonder why, like, coaches, in the past before all the NIL stuff, we're getting caught cheating and doing things or whatever because they have so many incentives. Hey, you win the conference tournament or conference championship, or let's say basketball, either one, and you get a $500,000 bonus if you make it to a bowl game. If you win the bowl game, you get another 25, 50 grand, whatever. And then, okay, so if I'm a coach, I'm thinking, all right, well, it's a lot of money there, and I want to do right by my university. I want to get them to win. So let's go out and let's pay give this kid some extra money to come and play for our school, or let's do this or whatever, recruiting violations, whatever it might be. And then you're like, on the back end of it, you're like, if I get caught, so what?
Yeah.
I get fired and I make $20 million because it's in my contract. So I might as well try it. I mean, it's just like, come on, people. Like, you got to be held accountable at some point in time.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you got to go. And I was going to say, when I was a kid and you were a kid, we wanted to be a cop or a fireman or a garbage man. No. Nowadays, I want to grow up and be an SEC or major college football coach and get fired without cause and get $20 or $30 million and then just go away. I mean, right. I'm with you. I think you make great points. I want to get you back on next week because what starts happening Sunday or, at midnight.
Yes, I do.
Playing a little hardball,
That's right. A little round ball. We're going to be out there and that gets me fired up, of course. Again, I got to, like we just talked about, though, I got to get on the internet and read my roster of my Wolfpack guys and see who all we got from there and what kids we got from what school and everything else. But this is a great time of the year right now. I mean, my Braves are just rolling people.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, the Braves are on fire. And it kind of worries me a little bit because I've been a Braves fan of my entire life and living in Atlanta, and I covered them for 15 years with Fox. But, and I still do some stuff with MLB Network occasionally. But they, they're just rolling. They're so good. But I'm like, is this too good to be true? Like, they're so good. I just don't want to but that's the great thing about, so we got baseball coming up. We got the playoffs. We got Ryder Cup, of course, our boys got smoked last night across the pond. They got swept in the 4 match. So, but this is a good time of the year. NFL is cranking up. We got an early game with the Falcons if I'm playing in London this weekend. Yeah, so it's a good time of the year, and basketball cranking up too would be great. But I see the question on there from Frank in Gastonia. What are my expectations of the program? Look, Dave Doran's done a great job. Like people can, I mean, he's done a great job. We maintain that consistency of like, we're a bowl bound team every year. Are we going to be in the top echelon of the top 5 and the top 10 in the country? Probably not. Maybe occasionally, but we're always going to be teetering in that top 25 somewhere. And that's all you can really ask for a program. I mean, like, look, that's all you can ask for. They're competitive in all the games. They're not going to go out and win a national championship anytime soon, but they're competitive, and they have a good foundation. They've got the resources there. The school's backing it. They got the money. Yeah. I think they're going to be, and Dave Doran to me is the right man for the job right now. And we just got to see what happens. So yeah, listen, I know you got a tight schedule. I didn't mean to keep you long. You're really good. Love having you on. When you're on, everything is possible. I will never forget Albuquerque in '83. That was my freshman year. You just don't get over something like that. But anyway, tell people how they can follow you and get in touch with you, because I know you do great work up in Charlotte, and I got a son that lives up there. Got to get him to meet you, because he says Charlotte is the coolest city in America. It's a great city. Yeah, great city. So I'm up here. I got my own production company called PAC 30, PACK 30 Productions. You can check it out online and do video production work for everything from sales videos to commercials to corporate addresses, everything you can imagine. And then talent work wise for hosting and emceeing and doing sports stuff is Tommy Kane-talent on Instagram, or you can look up Tommy Kane, KANE-talent on the internet. I got my own website. Check me out. So. Hey, look, thanks for sharing your time with us. We'll be watching and pulling for the pack tonight. The power of the pack. And I had another one from Wolfman Jack in Leapers Fork, Tennessee. NC State has the resources to win. Wolfman Jack. You knew he had to be an NC State fan. Yeah, that's right. That's right. We do have the resources, but just got to stay competitive. That's the key. I know. All right. Take care, Tommy. All right. Bye-bye. You bet. All right. You have to start off with this. Hold on. Whoops. I love this. That is the Tennessee fight song there in the background. And we got Vince Ferrara from the Sports Animal up in Knoxville. And Vince talking with Tommy Kane over in Charlotte, NC State alum, played some basketball there at the end of the Jim Valvano and with Les Robinson. And talk about dreams come true. He's a manager working with the team for 4 years. The day before they played Duke in '93, Les Robinson, the coach, said, "Hey, we're down a man." He threw him a jersey. It's like the old Coke commercial with, Mean Joe Green throwing the kid, a Coke at the deal. And he got to play in there, and he got PAC Productions over there in Charlotte. But Tommy, just an all-around great guy. I love having him on, as are you. Rocky Top, big weekend, man. Good win against the Roadrunners last weekend. That's an 11-win program from last year. That's a good win. Tennessee, as Herman Munster, Mr. Heimbach, was updating us throughout the game last week, the University of Tennessee. Now, have they copyrighted like the Ohio State wants to do? They are the UT. Big win.
Yeah, those two schools, Texas and Tennessee, have gone back and forth on the use of UT and things like that. But no, actually, our radio station, 99.1, the Sports Animal, we use it more than UT does in emphasizing the. But no, look, the UTSA had more reputation the last couple of years of being a quality program than what the reality was. Yeah. Due to graduation, due to transfer portal, due to injuries, they were a shell of the two-time Conference USA champions. They're not a very good football team. But Tennessee played Austin Peay the week before and did not play well. So there was at least progress against lesser competition to play well and play more to Tennessee standards. We saw the tempo. We saw the fast start. those are the kind of things that Tennessee has not done very well this year. They haven't gone as fast, haven't been as successful, and then haven't gotten the good starts until that game. So we saw them tackle better. Obviously got to a big lead, so they were able to play some reserves, which they really weren't able to do against Austin Peay. Does it guarantee anything moving forward once you get back into SEC play Saturday? No, but it's less alarming than if they didn't going into this game, considering what South Carolina brings to the table on offense. So yeah, it was a solid win, and it at least Tennessee put on tape that they can do some things right. Now it's a matter of the consistency, and then Joe Milton and those wide receivers hitting those deep balls, which I can share some numbers whenever you want them on the stark differences between Milton and Hooker with balls down the field.
Let's talk about it. That's exactly why we love doing this. I study trends and charts in business. But the same thing happens in sports.
Absolutely. So I was diving in. Pro Football Focus is a great resource.
Yeah.
I think I've mentioned it to you, Rob, and you know this. It's not the be-all, end-all, because Pro Football Focus doesn't know everybody's assignments, right? So they're giving grades, but it's grades on your technique, on your productivity, on your success. Sometimes, though, what you're supposed to do impacts how you're able to do what they're judging you on. But generally, I think it tells a pretty good story, and they have great numbers also. So I was diving in on Joe Milton, the depth of passing chart for Joe Milton. And Joe Milton in 4 games has thrown more passes behind the line of scrimmage, 39, than Hendon Hooker did all of last season in 11 games, 38. That tells you it's a different philosophy and approach. It's not, that's just the high pull offense. Well, it's a part of it, but it's not. In the past, it hasn't been as frequent as it has been this year. I think there's a couple reasons for that. Trying to get Joe Milton going, trying to get him into a rhythm, maybe having less that they trust him on. Also seeing if they can get the wide receivers going with the run after catch. That has not been the factor that I thought it would be going in. I still think those guys have that ability. We just haven't seen them get unleashed. So here's another difference in the deep ball throws between Milton and Hooker last year. Joe Milton this year has thrown 27 passes of 20 or more yards. That's about an average of 7 per game in 4 games. He's 7 of 27 and throws beyond 20 yards, 26%, 266 yards. It's an average of 61 yards per, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Hendon Hooker last year, 68 throws beyond 20 plus. Rob, that's only 6 per game, right? So he actually threw the ball a little bit less down the field. In 11 games, he was 30 of 68, 44% completion percentage, 13 touchdowns, 1 interception. Here's the kicker: 1,219 yards, 111 yards per game in deep ball throws. So what does that tell you? That they're trying with Milton down the field. They're just not connecting on those anywhere close to the amount, and they're not hitting those home run balls. So that's been an issue for Tennessee. I counted 6 throws, Rob, in that UTSA game. Just the UTSA game that they won going away, that were would-be touchdowns if they connect on them, either in the end zone or missed deep shots that they haven't been able to connect. And Milton kind of reverted back a little bit to when he gets early in his career, where he'd get excited and amped up, and he'd throw the ball on a line and overthrow and overshoot all his receivers. He's gotten back into that a little bit recently. They got to get that corrected, whether it's the receivers or the quarterback. And Josh Heupel thinks it's both. But they got to make teams pay, because right now everyone's playing soft coverage, and Tennessee just has not been able to get enough going to punish teams for that.
Well, it's like once you complete a couple of those deep balls, they play you differently. They're back on their heels. Right. If they're crowding, 8 guys up near the box and just, 3 back, or even nowadays people are playing a 3-2-6 defense against these really pass-heavy offenses. But the service academies are good. They complete 5 or 6 deep passes in a game, and all of a sudden it makes you have to back up a little bit, and it opens up the running game underneath.
Well, here's the thing, Rob. What's interesting and what Tennessee is seeing is Tennessee got back to running the football really successfully again. Tennessee leads the SEC in rushing yards per game, about 225, and 9th in the nation. They have 3 excellent backs. They finally used Dylan Sampson, the sophomore from Louisiana, record-setting running back, broke a lot of Eddie Lacy's high school rushing numbers in the state of Louisiana. He's so dynamic, but he's not as big, as small, and right. So in the Florida game, they didn't play him at all. And fans have just been so frustrated by it. He played a lot. He played much more in this game, and he had a couple more touchdowns. So it's incredible. He has, on the year, he has 30 touches, 6 touchdowns. Like once every 5 times he touches the ball, he's in the end zone. So they got to find a way to get him the ball, but they have run the ball pretty successfully overall. It's just in the Florida game, Florida gave them a lot of 5- and 6-man fronts. They weren't crowding the line too much. They were playing soft in coverage, but yet Tennessee, because the offensive line struggled, they weren't able to make Florida pay for that. And here's another wrinkle to it, is until the UTSA game where Joe Milton had that 81-yard touchdown run on the first play of the game on offense, they haven't involved the quarterback in the run game hardly at all. And so what teams are doing is their ends are crashing in. So they're able to hold Tennessee down and not giving up the home run balls in the run game with 5- and 6-man fronts overall, sometimes 7. But Tennessee has got to evolve into a dual threat at that quarterback position. Hypo has talked about it this week, and we'll see.
Yeah. Let's do this. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Be right back with Vince Ferrara, sports animal up in Knoxville, listening and watching sidelines on this Friday. I'm going to tell you what, big game. We got a lot to cover. We'll be right back.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am R.A. Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
All right, Rob Browne back here with you, and Vince Ferrara with us. We took that quick commercial break. Vince, I saw you were disappeared there in the witness protection program there for a minute, so we took that commercial break. You were making so many great points about Tennessee and this offense and all. And question here, Jeff in Fraser, Tennessee, which is an affluent suburb here in Memphis. How will the Vols stop the Rattler? Spencer Rattler's playing better every week. Last year, it took him 7 or 8 games to get in his groove. I think that's because he had to figure out the speed and adjust to the SEC. You got great edge rushers in the Big 12, but it's the interior surge like Tennessee has with Coach Rodney Garner. But is that going to be the strategy? Just blitz and stuff, but you do that, you leave guys on islands out there, receivers, that could be trouble.
Big part of this game, Spencer Rattler has been so dynamic, and ever since that Tennessee game, he's played up to that standard, Rob.
Yep.
It wasn't just as Tennessee has done with Anthony Richardson and some others where they have a career game and then they drop back after that. That has not been the case with Spencer Rattler. He has played at that high level and even higher. He's got Dow Loggins, the former Titans and NFL offensive coordinator now. Those two have had a great relationship. He simplified the offense for Rattler and the communication of it so Rattler can execute it. He's great. He's poised. He's great at escaping the pocket and throwing on the run. He really targets the middle of the field. Rattler, in most of his throws, are 0 to 9 yards between the hashes. 28 of 31, 338 yards in throws 0 to 9 yards past the line of scrimmage. That's where he attacks the most, but he's got guys at receiver that could run after the catch, including Xavier Legette, who had an awesome game against Mississippi State, and he's working his way into a high-round draft pick. They got weapons and really good tight end. Tennessee hasn't really faced teams, one, that throw the ball down the field like South Carolina will, two, that's had a really good pass catching threat like Trey Knox, who's a Tennessee kid from Murfreesboro. So Tennessee is going to face a lot of different weapons and aspects of this South Carolina offense. But the key is going to be get him on the ground. You can't let him escape the pocket and make plays on the run. Tennessee at times has gotten to the quarterback and then the quarterback has escaped. That was the case in the Florida game. Graham Mertz was able to keep plays alive. So they got to get him on the ground. They can't let him step up in the pocket. And we'll see how much Tennessee blitzes. This secondary has not been tested, like I said. So will Tennessee leave some of those guys on an island one-on-one to try to get to Rattler? What you risk is bringing the house and then those guys running by Rattler and he steps up or out, and now you have a disadvantage on the back end and wide open receivers. So we'll see how Tennessee plays it. They'll change up the looks on them, but man, that is such a huge challenge for Tennessee, who leads the league in sacks and tackles for loss. And that South Carolina offensive line has struggled this year too. They had their best game against Mississippi State, but that right side of the O-line has had some difficulty. We'll see if Tennessee maybe overloads that at times, tries to attack that right side, and what they can do. It's another game where they could really use a sure tackling Keenan Peely. And then they need Danico Slaughter, starting cornerback, back. He's their best corner, their best tackler. Need to see him back in the game. He's missed the last couple of weeks, and see how he does matched up with Leggett if that's what happens.
Yeah. You're Scotch-Irish. If you can pronounce this, it's not Seamus, it's Seamus. Seamus in Memphis. Vols need to prove they can force the Rattler out of his comfort zone. And you're right. Last year, people started having doubts about Spencer Rattler. 2 years in a row in the Red River Shootout down in Dallas, he was pulled out of that Texas OU game by Lincoln Riley. He goes, but Shane, I believe in Shane Beamer. I mean, he'd be fun to play for. I'm a big fan of his dad's because my brother-in-law played college football for Virginia Tech. Obviously not for Shane Beamer, but they all live up in Roanoke, the Star City. You've probably been there once or twice. But this is going to be a game where Tennessee's defensive line, Rodney Garner's got 40. Ask him, I think the number's 45 guys he's coached have gone on to the NFL. Pretty damn good resume. Do they have what it takes to force the Rattler to maybe have a panic attack?
Yeah, I don't know about a panic attack, but what they have to do is be really good on first down, force Rattler to have to be in some third and long, then get off the field on third down. And then also you can't let South Carolina be what they were last week against Mississippi State, and that's be balanced on offense. They hadn't been able to run the ball really well this year. And they got the run game going. Coincidentally, they got the offensive line playing their best game, and they ran the ball their best game. And then Spencer Rattler was in the fourth quarter, Rob, 17 of 17 in the game. Now, on the flip side, you can say, well, it was a tie game or it was a 3-point game and Rattler hadn't missed a throw and you're still barely beating Mississippi State because of your defense. But it's still impressive that you're in that situation if you're South Carolina. What that's going to be a big part of it is 3rd and long, being in Tennessee's not allowing that run game to get going, because when they play action, Spencer Rattler is accurate and really good. And, so that there's keys in everybody else, not just Rattler, on that South Carolina offense. But are they good enough? Yeah, I think Tennessee has shown that. I don't know that they have to get the sacks necessarily, but they got to make it really uncomfortable for him, like was the case in the North Carolina game where they didn't get good offensive line play. They couldn't run, and he was sacked 9 times. That would be a recipe for success for Tennessee defensively if it plays out that way.
If you're South Carolina, you don't want to hear this 5 times in the first half. That's going to be a sign that they're in trouble. I'm going to tell you what, man. I got a lot of Tennessee fans, and I'm married to a Vol for life. I remarried. A whole family up in Clarksville watched it in the man cave against Florida. They didn't like that, but they didn't like that at all. I live in Memphis. You can't get enough Vol talk for these people over here because it's mainly, the Tigers and the Grizzlies. And I understand, but this is the state of Tennessee. And I know for a long time there were 15 to 20,000 season ticket holders over here in West Tennessee. I've driven many times up to Knoxville for games. That long line on I-40, man, going up there to Knoxville, that's an awesome place, man. They're going to form the Giant T, and the Pride of the Southland Band will come out there tomorrow. You'll be on there with the Vol Network. This is a big, big game. And you talk about what Joe Milton's doing. You talk about the running game and all like that. Who is the one player or two for Tennessee that's got to step up? The old line Shook Jordan used to say, don't wait to be great. Kickoffs in 5 minutes. I need you today.
Well, it's an obvious choice, but it's got to be Joe Milton.
Yeah.
Because if Tennessee can hit on those deep throws, those deep shots, South Carolina gave up 487 passing yards to Will Rogers, who was last in the league in passing, amazingly, with that new offense at Mississippi State going into that game. Griffin
say that again.
Yeah. Will Rogers passed for 487 yards against South Carolina's defense last week, and Mississippi State was last in passing yards going into that game because they're a running team now, which is so different than what they were under Mike Leach. So Will Rogers had really struggled. We had Tom Hart from the SC Network who will be on the TV call. He's lived in Knoxville before.
Yeah.
Used to be a play-by-play voice of the Tennessee Smokies, AA affiliate of the Cubs, who just won their Southern League title. And so he was on with us this morning, and he was saying, Rogers just was out of rhythm, out of funk, and not in sync with his receivers. And then it all clicked because there was open receivers all over the place behind the South Carolina secondary. Their safeties were crashing in against Mississippi State's run game, and then Griffin was running behind them wide open. So Carolina's defense has struggled. Both of these secondaries, I think, are going to be shown to be weak links on their defense. And Joe Milton has to match Rattler in some regard. He doesn't have to be exactly like him, but they got to hit their shots. They can't afford to keep missing those deep shots against good competition. So Milton is an obvious choice for me. Another one is defensively a guy that I think is playing at an all-American level, and that's linebacker Aaron Beasley. Aaron Beasley not only is a great tackler, but he understands the defense. He's played his regular position is the will, but he's played some Mike with Keenan Peely, the BYU transfer out since the Virginia game. But he's always moving guys around. He's the communicator. He's a leader on defense. He is fast and athletic and arrives violently. You will see them blitz him some as well. And I would be surprised if he misses on Rattler. And that's the kind of guy, a sure tackler that can close the gap on Rattler so fast that can bring him down. I think that is the key blitzer for Tennessee is Aaron Beasley, number 6 on that Vols defense. So those would be a couple. And then I'll say 6 on offense, Dylan Sampson. He has home run ability. And when he gets the ball, he gets in the end zone. Tennessee has got to find a way, not just to be spooked by the situation or pass protection or, we only play one back at a time. We have 2 other good backs, and they do. They got to get him on the field because he can split out. He knows the route tree. You can get him one-on-one. You can motion him out. Now you can dictate and make it easier for Milton to understand his coverage. As a basic quarterback principle, you motion a guy out. So now if the defense switches to him, you can see if they're playing man or what the coverages are. That makes it easier on Milton to know where you're going with the football. Tennessee used that motion a lot last year. Got to get the tempo up. But, man, Sampson is a mismatch nightmare. So he would be a third, I would say, would be a key guy for Tennessee in this ballgame.
Well, everybody talks about their secondary. If they struggle, they're no good. Well, it's simpler to say if you don't have a pass rush, your secondary is really going to struggle. If your team probably has a 2-9 record if your leading tacklers are your free safety and your strong safety. That's just how it goes. You go back 30 years ago, defensive linemen might have, 60 to 80 tackles a year. There are defensive linemen now taken in the first round. If they're really good, they're going to play 3 years, who have 85 tackles over 3 years. That's just the game used to run at you. Now the game, they run away from those guys. How deep is this Tennessee front 7?
Very deep. Now, they still do not have Elijah Simmons, who's their biggest of the defensive tackles, but 340, 335-pounder. He's probably still a few weeks away from being able to play sometime in October. But even with that, Omar Norman-Lott, the Arizona State transfer in there, tackle. Omari Thomas, who's my Vol Network pregame interview that if you're listening to the game on the Vol Network, you can hear on the pregame, which starts 2 hours before the ball game, and talk to him. He's always a great interview. He's an outstanding defensive tackle, maybe not having as dominant a year as I thought, but still a very good player, and he will be important in pushing that pocket and not letting Rattler leak out the front side. And so Bryson Easton's been very good at tackle. And then Tyler Barron, who's having a career year, Knoxville product from Catholic High School. When they go to Rabbit Package, which is a smaller pass rushing athletic group, they'll slide him from end inside to tackle, and they have 4 really athletic guys on that D line. So they have the flexibility to play, 3 different Leos, 3 deep at tackle. I'd say 2 deep at end. Just a really good group there. Even if there's not a first rounder, it's still a very, very solid, hardworking group. They got to win at the line of scrimmage because South Carolina, with their issues on the offensive line, there's no reason why Tennessee shouldn't win a lot of those one-on-one battles. And that's a big part of what this game is going to be, whether it's one-on-one on the perimeter with a secondary versus a wide receiver on both sides, or one-on-one battles inside, or one-on-one tackling in space, whether it's Beasley on Rattler or whatever. One-on-one battle is going to be a big part of this game. And, Tennessee has been inconsistent there. And so, frankly, has South Carolina.
Well, you talk about, and here's an interesting, I'm trying to type it in. They come in via text or on the YouTube comments. And if they come in via text, I'm trying to type them in, but a little something here. For Omari Thomas. I like this. An observation from Michael in Memphis. Omari Thomas's mom, is a 25-year teacher at St. Paul Catholic School in Memphis. You cannot say enough good things about it, which is it's an easy, shameless plug here. One more time, Monday is the first ever Archbishop J. Peter Sarton Golf Classic. And that's going to be at Chickasaw Country Club dinner Sunday night. You can still donate money. The scholarship fund, they're trying to raise $75,000 this year. They're very close to it. Call Michael Jordan, 901-647-3014. Man, the Whitehaven influence, St. Paul, Bishop Byrne, Our Lady of Sorrows, OLPH, St. Louis, Holy Rosary, St. Dominic, Catholic schools or not, it's a great cause to support. But Omari went to Briarcrest. Hell of a player. And I know a lot of schools recruited him. And I saw him at media days. He's a big kid. Yeah. You're going to have him. So tell me this, because the Vol Network, I remember when you would look in there and see 150 affiliates. It's just, a lot of stations had, a lot of markets had AM and FM. And now, the networks are huge. You've got the apps on your phone and all. But you can't go to a football game without listening to the radio network. It's like you can bomb the hell out of a country, but until you put boots on the ground, you can't take it over. You can go to a football game and get a program, and that's fine. You got to carry that big thing around. Buy those radio headsets they've got. Radio is your eyes and ears, the sideline reporters, the locker room, the pregame. I know our friend Lauren Smith, the Georgia Football Network, I think they started day before the game. It's like 3 or 4 hours. It's incredible. And every time there's a station break, people line up to get their picture with Lauren Smith, the legendary. Lauren, what do you got? Well, there, Vince Ferrara at quarterback. We're just unable to stop the sophomore out of Tampa, Jesuit. He's just unbelievable. 320 yards in the first half. All right, that's enough. 81 seconds. Dogs are got to hunker down for Tennessee. My God, a freshman. My God, those thighs. Radio is I love radio. I will be at the Auburn, Georgia game tomorrow, and I will be buying that thing I'll put around my neck for $25 or $30 from the vendors. That's the live feed with Andy Burcham, Jason Campbell, Will Herring, Ronnie Browne, Paul Ellen back in the scoreboard. I love the network. Talk about how much fun that is to be part of a tradition. The Vol Network, we all know John Ward and Bob Kessling. Just there are John Wilkerson. I mean, you and him doing baseball, that's got to be a lot of fun. Tell me about it.
It is. And John and I get to do a lot of things together. We host the morning show, Sports Talk, celebrating in October 35th year of the show. Longest running sports talk show in the state of Tennessee, 35 years. A lot of big. Jimmy Himes, obviously, co-host for many years, and Mike Keith, the voice of the Titans, was on it. So it's been incredible. And he and I do the morning show, do Tennessee baseball together. We do one of the local pregame shows on what we call Game Day All Day. We do about 14 hours of Tennessee football coverage on Saturdays, Rob. So we got a lot of pregame as well. Sometimes it's all front-loaded pregame, like with a night game. Sometimes it's pregame and postgame. It ends up being, 14 hours of Tennessee football coverage. He and I co-host the SEC Notebook on the pregame show. So we do Sunday NFL show. We do a lot together. But when recently they had a 25th anniversary party for Bob Kessling, Vol Network staff, and going to that party and hearing the stories, the travel stories through the years, and everybody making fun of everybody else, including Bob, obviously, who gives it and takes it great. That really was another a reminder and highlight of just what I'm a part of. And it's not the voice of the Vols or anything, but it is a proud part of what I do in broadcasting, that I get to be on the Vol Network. I do it for basketball too, the pregame player interviews, home games. I get to be out where we set up our broadcast for the Vol Network pregame show outside gate 21 at the sort of the amphitheater seating there outdoors. And I get to take questions from the crowd. So if anybody goes to any Tennessee games, home games, find me and we'll get you to ask a question on the air on the Vol Network. So all of that, everybody's really super nice and very classy, respectful. And
when things are going well, that's takes it to another level, Rob. You know that when it's a struggle, it's no fun to do local radio, network radio, or anything, because it just brings you down.
Well, I'll say this. In the old days, and Bo Carter, former SID at Mississippi State, Southwest Conference office, Big 12 office, now the National Football Foundation, Baseball Writers of America, go Devil Rays. I'm sure he's doing a book about the Phillies right now. And just as a reminder, as Billy Roberts told me, he gave me this cup from Auburn night at the Battery there. The Braves, I think, have locked up home field advantage. But again, that doesn't guarantee anything. But I'll tell you this. This is my take as an AM radio junkie. As a small lad, that's my Scotch-Irish influence there. As a small boy, my dad would talk about the White's radio log. It was a thick book of every AM station in America. So I grew up and still do listen to WHO AM 1040 Des Moines, Iowa, or as people call it, Des Moines, AM 1120 KMOX St. Louis, KDKA in Pittsburgh, 3WE in Cleveland with Pete Franklin doing sports radio. Listening to, I think, WCAU, whatever, out of Philadelphia. I actually picked that up when I was in Paris one time during college over there during the summer, tooling around, and listened to a Phillies game in Paris out of a station in Philadelphia, WJR 760 in Detroit, AM 750 WSB Atlanta, news, talk, traffic, and weather. No time for the talk show. It's all commercials and updates. But no, I'm an AM radio junkie. TV is great when they do a game. It's like getting somebody's business line. You got to call. You got to go through the gatekeepers. Mildred's like, oh, can I speak to Vince Ferrara? You got something you want to sell him? Hold on one second. He's tied up in a meeting. He's over there going, I don't want to talk to him. When you listen to the VOL network or the Bulldog network with legendary broadcaster Jack Crystal, say hello to one of our sponsors, Utes on the Square in Canton, Mississippi. Go Bulldogs. But when you are listening to the radio network of whatever team it is, that's like you got somebody's cell phone number. It is personal. And I want to give you the credit that you deserve, and all people in radio. You make it real. I mean, when you're down there with that sideline reporter, Will Herring, who played at Opelika High School, played at Auburn, played in the NFL 7 or 8 years. When he's down there on the sidelines, they're going, Will, what do you got? Well, Auburn having a real hard time trying to stop that running game around the right end. What they need to do is move those jack linebackers over here and pull that safety. You're like, wow, that's from the heart. And what you do, don't ever think that's not huge. I mean, and Bo, you know what I'm talking about. Bo's writing a book right now, Tales of Mississippi State Athletics. So the radio network, every time I listen to the Vol Network all the time. Mike Keith, Brett Hubbs, John Wilkerson. John's got one of those booming voices like you do. The two of y'all doing baseball, there's nothing better than listening to baseball with your feet up, your feet in the sand down at the beach, drinking a cold Hamm's beer or something, listening to baseball. So God love radio. Satellite's cool and all like that, but you cannot beat local radio and the broadcast network of said team in America, like the Tennessee Vol Network. Bob Kessling, we have him on the show. He's just awesome. It's like having Dick Clark on the show when you have these radio guys. I love it. So thank you, and let people know how they can follow you on the Sports Animal, because I love that name, because that was my nickname in high school, and it still is. They call me Animal Browne, but I love that name.
Thank you, Rob.
A lot of coffee, man. I can't help it.
Maybe one day you'll develop some passion for radio in this business, Rob. Maybe one day you'll feel it.
Yeah.
That was cool. So you can follow me on Twitter at Vince Sports, VINCE Sports. Have blogs on our website at 991thesportsanimal.com. The podcast section, you can listen to our show, Sports Talk. The high school sports section, you can hear high school broadcasts. I do play-by-play with several what Tennessee fans call VFLs, former Tennessee football players. Jay Graham is my analyst tonight. We got 2 state champions, 3A state champion Alcoa, 5A state champion West, both undefeated. They match up tonight at West High School. It'll be an awesome game. One of the best games in the state. We'll have it for you tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. You can listen on the app, the 99.1, the Sports Animal app. Just click on live stream 2, and you can hear that our broadcast on streaming from anywhere, Memphis or anywhere you happen to be. So tons of other stuff. But yeah, Vol Network pregame interview. Amari Thomas, Memphis kid, one of my favorite athletes to cover at Tennessee since my time here in 2010. Super guy, and that'll be coming up on the Vol Network pregame. So appreciate it as always, Rob.
Hey, an idiot savant can only remember this. Jay Graham, running back, Kannapolis, North Carolina.
Yep.
That's what I thought. Okay. Hey, we'll take a break. Thank you so much. I've got the Texas duo coming up after this. Quick commercial break on Sidelines. Let me find the commercial. We'll do it. We'll be right back.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
All right, we are back here with the Texas duo, and I have to do this for Ken and Bo, and I think this may bring a few tears to some eyes, but I got to play it.
Uh-oh. People are turning this off all over America.
Alabama fans.
Well, we just had to play it there with, I tell you, Larry Bud Melman and Brother Theodore here. We got that is really a pretty awesome song, and I think a lot of people like it just because we love Texas, a state with 30 million people that we know of. I haven't checked the turnstile count in the lower Rio Grande this morning, but always a growing number. But I'm telling you, Ken and Bo, y'all live in a state. I was talking to some Texas people this week about, and people just brought it up about Texas. Actually, one of our listeners, Cheryl Chambers, she loves it. She's from Houston, and she said the whole state's about winning and everything. And Ken, you sent me and both of y'all, I want to go ahead and turn the ball over here and hand off to the 6'1", 197-pound sophomore from Tyler, Texas, Ken Capps, and Bo Carter, the left guard at 6'8", 320 pounds with 2.8% body fat, leading the blocking. Ken, you've got a series of salient points. So I'm going to step aside and let my Texas duo. I was reading that last night, Audrey, and I went, God, this is such good stuff. But have at it, man. And first of all, thank both of y'all for taking time. And you see what shirt I'm wearing this morning, out of respect to y'all?
Yeah.
I got this at Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee, open Monday through Saturday, as they say in the South, Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We're getting 30 and 40 boxes a day sometimes. New stuff coming in. Hire, Schaefer Outdoors, Stetson, Filson, Old South, Devil Dog Jeans, over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's boots. Great-looking men's clothes and also great-looking clothes for the women. Wow, man. Charles and Laura, the owners, and then Raven do an incredible job out there. You will love it. You'll feel like you stepped back in time. HewlettandDunn.com. Proud to have them as a sponsor. Let's hand it off, though, to Ken Capps and Bo and let y'all go.
Well, I lived in Nashville for 2 years, and I worked at WSMV, Channel 4, the NBC affiliate there, and just had a blast when I lived in Nashville. And I made a really good friend there named Rob, and he was a native Nashvilleian. See, I know how to say it, Nashvilleian. And you have to get all this stuff right? When you move to different parts of the country. Yep. Native Nashvilleian, local boy. And this guy just made my 2 years in Nashville such a joy and so much fun. And today is his birthday. So, Rob, I know you're watching. Happy birthday, man. Thanks for being my friend. Thanks for being my friend for 45 years. I appreciate it. You know, Rob, that's one of the things I always say. You can't make old friends, right?
Nope. You cannot.
So, here's the number one thing on the agenda. And, Bo, I want to get your thoughts on this, too. Okay. Who would have ever thunk in the last year of the Big 12 that KU versus UT would be a huge game being played tomorrow in Austin, 2:30 on ABC. Both teams, this is the really crazy part, both teams undefeated at 4-0. At 4-0. And, this is such a, Texas has gotten so scared of KU over the last few years because, KU knocked off Texas back in 2016. Yeah. Cost Charlie Strong his job, but everybody wanted him fired anyway. But that was
what the hell?
But that was definitely the kiss of death. And then in Sark's first year, this was just 2 years ago. KU comes down. Texas is a 31-point favorite, and KU comes down. Plains of Kansas.
Well,
and beats Texas 57-56 in overtime, and that extended the longest losing streak in Texas history at 5 games. And the last time Texas lost 5 games before 2021 was in 1956. Why do I bring this up? Because in 1956, Ed Price was the coach at Texas. Ed Price was then fired after that season, and Texas brings in some guy named Darrell K. Royal.
Yep. Now, what was the guy's name that preceded Darrell K. Royal again?
Ed Price.
Ed Price. Sounds like a country music singer.
Yeah, really. Yeah. But, he probably had more success as a music singer than he did as a football coach. But I'm just saying, Texas is not going to overlook this game at all. Jalen Daniels, the quarterback at Kansas, is in my opinion the best quarterback in the league, and with Ewers a close number 2. Wow. And and both these teams are extremely efficient in the red zone. Neither one of these teams make a lot of turnovers. I don't think. Well, Quinn has not thrown a turnover. It's not thrown an interception this year. I'm not sure about Jalen, but they're both very highly effective quarterbacks. And so, in my opinion, Texas is a 17-point favorite this time. But I think it may be a lot closer than that. And it's going to come down. I think it's going to come down just like the Alabama game did. To which defense steps up and who can turn some turnovers into points.
Well, golly, you talk about. I was at the Liberty Bowl last year, Arkansas and Kansas, and and there were a lot of rumors out there. And we had our good friend Harold Grader, executive VP of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. There were rumors, because of all the storms that had hit, that there wouldn't be running water and toilets. That was disgusting, but it was damn near full. And I was there sitting among the Arkansas and the Kansas fans. And I'm trying to type in this question it's a text that just came in. I like this. Kenneth in Little Rock. I watched Daniel bring KU back from the dead. Yeah, thought he was Lazarus. That was one. Look, that's what we love about college football. Every time you go out for steak, you're not going to the best steakhouse in town. But sometimes when you go to like the Marshall Steakhouse down there in Red Banks, Mississippi, you go in there and you went, oh my God, this might be the best steak I've ever had. Right. That's what I love about college football. And I'm having a little bit of coffee this morning. There's nothing in it except coffee and some almond creamer. But I get so fired up about these games. And I'm wearing my horse shirt from Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. We love them. Proud to have them as a sponsor. I need to get one for both of y'all. What are you, both of y'all, mediums or larges?
XL for me, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, XL. Man, you just made my day, Rob, by thinking I was that small. I'm an XL.
Well, I'm going to get y'all both a badass shirt from Hewlett and Dunn, and I want y'all to tell everybody about it because I know Ken is 6'8", Bo is 7'3".
Good day.
But I'm going to tell you something. That Kansas-Texas game tomorrow, this is what I love about college football. Lance Leipold, man, that dude can flat out coach. And he said just yesterday, my good Football Writers Association of America friend Kirk Bowles down at the Austin American Statesman interviewed him this week, and he said, me and my wife want to finish, want to stay in Lawrence, and we want to finish. I want to finish my career here at Kansas. But I tell you what, there's going to be a lot of big time job openings after this year, and his name is going to be at the top of the list for many of them. So I want to see if that's going to stick because, man, he is. He just gets it done. He's not flashy. He doesn't say a lot. But Kansas is a basketball school for Pete's sake. Yep. And now they're playing this incredible football. And and the other thing that I was thinking about this week is remember that next week, I'll be all fired up because next week is Texas OU weekend in Dallas at the Great Cotton Bowl. And I don't think Texas is going to look ahead to that, but depending on what happens with Oklahoma this week, and if Texas wins tomorrow, they could be undefeated, meeting in the Cotton Bowl, and then just my final point on all that. Wow, Brent Yormark should be really, really happy that this is the way the old Big 12 with Texas and OU leaving is going to end because there's some incredible things going on in this league. Yeah. And look, Yancy Porter is going to join us around 9:29 a.m. Central this morning. Rebel Yell Hotline talking some Ole Miss. Love to get Yancy on. He was supposed to be on earlier this week, and his dog got sick during the show and ate his homework. No, something. It really was. The dog did get sick, and I was like, absolutely. He goes, can I come on Friday? I said, absolutely. We will have the Texas duo of Bo Carter and Ken Capps. I like it. Jerry Jeff Walker, he goes, I love it. And he goes, if I could just get off of that LA freeway without getting killed or caught. And I believe he passed away in the last year or two. Yeah, he passed away about 3 years ago. God. And it's really been you can really feel that he is gone because he was just such a legend here in Texas, all over the country. Yeah. And who one of his best buddies was Jimmy Buffett. Yep. Yeah. It was
Jerry Jeff Walker that drove Jimmy to Key West, and the rest is history.
Yeah,
and
it is.
But
I like what he says though. Big 12 football is going to challenge the rest of the Power 5 for supremacy. I really think. I think look. I'm an Auburn grad. I love the SEC, but you better watch out when you think that if you don't stay hungry and show up every day ready to fight, somebody's going to take what you got, guys.
Oh, there's no question about that. And I just think that TCU last week. I mean, I was just trying to think of who's going to be like the power schools in the Big 12 next year, and I was a little surprised that the BYU got beat, and I guess Cincinnati is not as good as their program has been the last few years. That's my last third point I want to talk about before we get out of here. I've also got an Eli Manning story I'll say for when Yancy gets on the line. But anyway, one other point I wanted to make, just headed 90 miles up the road from Austin to College Station, Aggieland, Texas, USA. And you'll appreciate this, Rob, because you're a big Auburn guy. And it's been on the internet all week, about your pal Eugene Asante trying to run back that fumble last week. And he has 67 yards of green field. There's only one guy to beat, and that's Jimbo Fisher.
Yes. That was, well, I was like, what is he doing? He was just staring like, no penalty or anything.
Well, but here's what I thought was funny, and I want Bo to tell the story about Dickie Nagel here in a minute. But what's so funny is when you see that picture, here comes Asante just running full speed down the sideline, and here's Jimbo out in farther out in the field, and if Jimbo had like kind of been startled or made a move either way, he may have knocked down Jimbo. And I just think it's so funny, and of course Jimbo thinks it's funny, but I'm kind of like, I don't know if that's funny or not, but it's just been a funny, whoever snapped that picture did a great moment in time photo.
Yeah, it really is. Hey, I like this one from Ernest T. Bass, especially when I'm dancing. I love Ernest T. And he's one of the great in Hickory, North Carolina. That's right there next to Winston-Salem, the triad over there. I want Bo's thoughts on Dallas becoming the permanent home of the college football playoff. You think that possibly Jerry Jones, I own the Dallas Cowboys, could he have the power, the clout, the influence, the moxie, the cojones, the balls to make that happen? Dallas, Fort Worth, the Metroplex.
The Metroplex. Thank you.
That's right.
Hey, it is universally located.
Yep. And a good airfare, great location for airfare. And of course, the college football playoff office is in Las Colinas, Irving area, right about 15 miles from Arlington. So, hey, a lot of Ken can vouch for this too. When they had to move, when they were not had to, but when they made the move from the Cotton Bowl Stadium to Arlington, you had some, Phil Scoville and some really traditional, great people that have been on the Cotton Bowl board for years and years. We're almost in tears, like Ken remembers or whatever. But they, Jerry and Rick Baker, the Cotton Bowl executive director, kind of sold it. So they and the first college football playoff championship was here in January of 2015. Yep. Zeke Elliott running wild against Oregon. So it's a great venue. Rob, you can cram 105,000 people in there if you don't put the temporary seats in like the infamous Super Bowl that year. But it'd be a perfect venue, and fans are crazy about it right here. Fans from once they go to the 12 teams, it's going to be a little bit of a problem for people going to 3 games for the non-bye teams. So it's fairly affordable, and good airfare would be a great venue.
Hey, listen, I like that idea, Rob, because it's about 20 minutes from my house.
There you go.
But I tell you what, who will, every other big city, New Orleans, Miami, Los Angeles, on and on and on. Everybody else will raise such complete hell about that. That I don't think that would ever happen. I'm with you, Ernest. Let's do it, because I think it would be great. And you know what? Back to high school football for a minute, Rob, and Bo knows this, and people come in from around the country to watch this. But when Texas high school playoffs get to their championship games, everybody from 6-man football on up to the biggest the biggest schools, which are 6A, every team. So this is like, I don't know, 12, 14, 16 games. Mm-hmm. They play all of their championship games in Cowboy Stadium. Okay. And they'll have 50,000 people in the stands for a high school football game. And literally, I know people that come in from around the country, because they start on like Tuesday or Wednesday and go all the way till Saturday. I know people from around the country that's their week of vacation. They take it off, and all they do is come in and start with the lower level guys, the 6-man guys, and watch it all the way through. And I love going out there and doing that because it's so much fun. But so thank you, Ernest. I'll go with that idea.
Yeah, I think it would be a lot of fun. Like this, the Possum in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, home of the Swampers, by the way, a great sessions recording band there in Muscle Shoals. The Quad Cities, from whence. Word wealth moment here. I've got two journalism like masters, majors, teachers here from whence. From where Bo's from. The Quad Cities, Muscle Shoals, Sheffield, Tuscumbia, and Florence, the Quad Cities of the South. The Quad Cities of the Midwest, we know, are Moline, Bettendorf, Rock Island, and Davenport, Iowa and Illinois, all together. They call me no-show Notre Dame. Why can't the Irish win the biggest games? That one the other night, someone texted me when they put 1 second back on the clock so Ohio State could kick that extra point. The bag man arrived in South Bend at the last minute. What was the line? 2.5 or 3? No nothing to see here. Keep driving along. Keep going along. No shenanigans.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
That's why there's all those tall buildings in Las Vegas. By the way, the greatest actor probably ever, the greatest TV actor ever, one of the great ones, in my opinion, Telly Savalas. Who loves you, baby? Tahoe, Reno, Vegas, Atlantic City, the Caribbean. Tell them Telly sent you. Well, when he died, it said he died in a hotel. I'll never forget my dad. He goes, poor son of a biscuit, living in a hotel. I said, Dad, he had the 8th floor of the MGM Grand, and I think he died with a 28-year-old companion or something like that. So I'm sure he was happy. But, it was unbelievable. Who loves you, baby?
Telly.
But what is the deal? Notre Dame coming in had won 10 of the prior 11 games under the lights in South Bend. I love Notre Dame for a lot of reasons, and I think it was an awesome atmosphere and all. Sam Hartman, they came to life late. But Notre Dame's got a great quarterback. That Alt guy is going to be a first-round pick as a tackle, and they got a stud running back. But either one of y'all want to tackle this one because Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman, he knows what he's doing.
Ken, I'll let you lead the way.
Well, I'll just say that, I watched that game, and I was just amazed, and I give all what I do, to be honest with you, and this is not a cop-out at all. I give all the credit to Ohio State. Yeah. My gosh, for them to be able to march down that field, and then with, 1 second left on the clock, or 3 seconds, however much it was, to run that ball in and score. That could have easily been stopped. I was thinking, oh my God, I can't believe they're going to run this ball in. It's got to be a run pass option or something. But man, they just ran it right up the gut of the Notre Dame defense, got the touchdown and scored. And I was, and then of course I don't know what Ryan Day did, but he ticked off all the Irish fans this week. What did he do?
He and Lou Holtz kind of had a battle of the words out there, or whatever. I think Lou was talking about that. And Ken, I was going to say, I thought Rudy Rudiger might have come out of the stands and made the sack there at the end of the game, like the Georgia game in the movie.
Yeah, because I thought that was a very gutsy move to just run it between the tackles and go for it, win or lose. But Notre Dame's going to be okay. And, I think it's going to be pretty cool tomorrow that Duke is going to host College Game Day for the first time ever in their history. And who are they playing? The Fighting Irish.
Yep. That is going to be that's such a, and we talked with Tommy Kane in the first segment, who a long time with the ACC network, ACC road trip, Fox Sports. And he said on a group text thread he's with a lot of his ESPN and Fox buddies, they're all going, can you believe ESPN Game Day is coming to Durham? They all thought it would happen. But I like this question that I just got in. I've got to put this up for y'all. And before we go to Yancy, and I think it's appropriate. And I'm trying to man, I have a lot of respect for people that type, because Mildred is in there watching Perry Mason. By the way, he won his case. Before we get in the sedan and head down to Auburn for the Auburn-Georgia game, renewal of the Deep South's oldest rivalry, February 20th, 1892. 5,000 gathered, Piedmont Park, Atlanta, Georgia. Georgia's mascot was a goat with a red and black cape. After the game, Vince Dooley said, the Georgia fans were so enraged that they barbecued the goat. So I guess you could say it was our first tailgate cookout in the Southeastern Conference. Vince Dooley, Murphy High School, Mobile, Alabama, rest in peace, died last year. I believe it was October 28th on that Friday. Many times I'd be talking to Lauren Smith and he'd be saying, I'm going to pick up Vince and we're going down to the Macon Touchdown Club or wherever they wanted him to go. Gotta miss him, but he will always be here with us. Okay, we're going to bring Yancy Porter from Rebel Yell Hotline. Catch him Monday night, 6 p.m., Sports 56, WHBQ, and Super Talk. It's 2 syllables, Mississippi. Forget all that other stuff, M-I-S-S-I-P-P-I. That's how I learned how to spell Mississippi as a kid. Was also smart enough to go over there to that big cheerleading camp they had with all the college cheerleaders from around the country on by the waterworks at the University of Memphis. And boy, I tell you what, I learned how to recognize talent. All right, let's just say this. We're going to take – I just want to say something real quick. Red River Ford Toyota, Wynne, Arkansas. John Dobbs Jr., the Dobbs family in Memphis, you know them. They've been in the car and truck business for a long, long, long time. And he's part of the Red River Auto Group with the Ward family, who's been in it with Central Arkansas for a long time. Red River Ford Toyota, Wynne, Arkansas, about 45 minutes from Memphis. Get over there any day you can. They're open Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., or as Justin Wynn, the general manager, says, until the last sale has been done or made. Great people over there. Rusty Howard, Greg Smith out there on the sales floor. They will direct you. Great people in the service department, which is open on Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 12:30. They will deliver anywhere, and I mean anywhere. RedRiverFordToyota.com. I would say it's a great time to go get a great deal. They always work with you, and they are fair. I've got a bunch of people. Well, in fact, one thing real quick before we go to Yancy, one of my sponsors, Ann Camp Lee, RumbleBoxingGym.com. You check them out on their website. Last week, she goes, no, who should I go see over there? I said, just go to Red River Ford Toyota and Wynne. The next day, she sent me about 7 pictures. During the show, she had just bought a brand new car from there, from one of the salesmen over there, and they've got great people there. She goes, my God, that was awesome, and it's nothing to drive 45 minutes from Memphis. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Proud to be associated with them. Blessed to have them as a sponsor and all the great people over there. Yancy Porter, where's your homework, son? My dog ate it. Yep, that's right. Yancy, Rebel Yell Hotline. I love having you on. You talk about a guy who gets it. He's from Hattiesburg. It ain't Hattiesburg. It's Hattiesburg, the hub city, one of the hottest cities in America. But he was born over in Vicksburg or Natchez, but he was raised over in the Pine Country near Petal and Kane Break subdivision and all that. But Yancy, let's talk. Got a big game tomorrow. And but one other question we got here from before we go to Yancy. Loretta Lynn in Butcher Holler, Kentucky. Will Jay Billis be on the set tomorrow? No, Jay, it's not basketball. But Yancy, let's talk Ole Miss and LSU. We got Ken Capps, Football Writers Association of America, Bo Carter, National Football Foundation, Baseball Writers of America, and writing a book, Tales of Mississippi State Athletics from my Oops on the Square in Canton, Mississippi. Let's head over to Yancy Porter on the sidelines as the Rebels prepare to come out and take on their good friends from LSU.
Well, it's a big weekend for the Rebels, for all the 60 and older crowd and people, Ole Miss fans that live south of Jackson, Mississippi. This is Ole Miss's biggest rival. There's a lot of history between Ole Miss and the Tigers. Obviously, for the rest of the fan base, it's Mississippi State, but there's a lot of people that live south of Jackson from the Ole Miss alumni base and a lot of 60 and older crowds. So it's obviously a huge weekend for the Rebels.
Well, and you know what you hear. What's the over and under? And I got to ask you this: what's the over and under on the number of times you will hear "Go to hell, LSU"?
Well, that's always the traditional. Coming out of the gate, there's always going to be at least a couple people that are going to yell that after the national anthem, and there'll be quite a few more.
Yeah. And look, let's get your thoughts on this matchup. We had Jacques Doucet on WAFB Channel 9, who was on Rebel Yell Hotline Monday, was on with us yesterday morning. It's a big game. Everybody that knows anything about football has seen the 1959 Halloween night Billy Cannon punt return. And there's a lot of tradition in this game. Ole Miss is going to honor the 2003 SEC Western Division champions. That was close, 17-14. This is a big game for both schools. What does Ole Miss got to do in this game they have not been doing in the previous four?
Well, that's a monotonous question right now that has been discussed at length every day and will be until it's rectified, and that's simply running the football.
And that's easier said than done. Talk about the offensive line.
Well, it's we've talked about this at length in the past, but they've returned 4 out of their 5 starters from the unit that has led the SEC in rushing the last 3 years. And for some curious reason that fans still want to know about, 2 of them have been benched, and the new offensive line coach brings in 2 of his guys that he signed out of the portal. And they haven't been able to even run against Mercer. It's a head scratcher. Nobody knows what's going on with that. The blocking schemes changed from zone blocking to man-on-man blocking with the new O-line coach. At Lane Kiffin's doing, he wanted to change that scheme during the whole season. It's kind of like, I've kind of parallel to golfers, right? You see like Padre Harrington when he won 3 majors in 2 years, and then he said, let's redo our swing. And that's kind of what people feel like Lane did. He's like, hey, let's take the best of the best and let's just try something different. And it has been an F so far this season.
Yeah. Bo, Ken?
Well, Yancy, it's good to see you, man. And well, you know what a Lane Kiffin fan I am. I covered him when he was in Conference USA, and my favorite thing how he and I got to be friends is he came in one day to Conference USA Media Days because Conference USA's offices are, believe it or not, in Dallas in the Metroplex, and so anyway, but he came in it was a hot July day. He came in like a linen suit and a pink shirt and a blue tie. And I said, Coach, you man, you're the best dressed guy in this room, and you look like Jay Gatsby. and he loved that. And so I made friends with him. I just like him, but yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty tough road to hoe for Mississippi tomorrow. But anything's possible, and I think it's going to really come down again to what it seems like. It seems like this year everything keeps coming down more to defense than I've seen in a really long time. I mean, there are a lot of points being scored out there, but it's a scoop and score. It's a pick six. It's a recovered fumble late in the game. What are your thoughts on that, Yancy?
First, you must have talked to Jackie Sherrill before this conversation started. He must have given you a few dollars to call Ole Miss Mississippi.
Yeah. School up north.
Yeah, the school up north.
No, I'm just teasing with you. Yeah, that's a great thing about the game of football, right? You don't know about the block punt, the shank punt, the kickoff return, the kickoff fumble, the scoop and score, sacking a quarterback, all the points you don't account for when you analyze football games, and that certainly can come in play. But look, if Ole Miss goes back to their old blocking schemes, I don't think they need any of that. They got the personnel there on the offensive line. They've got the scheme that they ran for 3 years that worked so successfully. Lane had hit it this week that they're changing the running schemes. So everybody in Rebel Nation is keeping their fingers crossed to go back to their old offensive line personnel and go back to the zone blocking schemes. And if they do that, I don't think you need all of that weird stuff to transpire. I think Ole Miss can beat them head on head. But if they don't, they will need a lot of that.
Okay.
Tom,
By the way, I wanted to share something with Yancy that I think he'll appreciate. I wanted to give you an Eli Manning update. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, what am I trying to say? Arch at Texas. So first of all, 2 weeks ago, my little girl, Caroline, got to run the tees off of the field at the University of Texas after the kickoffs. So Texas scored 5 times. She got to run on the field 5 times and get the key after Texas kicked off. At the end of the game, we were down on the field, and who comes walking right up to us but Arch Manning? And we were so thrilled, and he was, and of course I got out my camera immediately. Can we take a picture? He was so nice. Asked Caroline what grade she was in, all this other kind of stuff. And I was just really, after the game, I don't know where all these people come from out of the stands that don't have a pass, but he's being mobbed, and he took a few minutes to talk to us. And I just thought that was so classy. I'm not surprised, but I thought that was so classy. But that's not, I just wanted to throw that in. But the part of my story was, every week after Texas plays, there's a story about, fans upset that Arch Manning didn't play this week. Well, let me tell you guys, I don't think Arch Manning's going to play this year. And I don't know why the fans don't understand that at Texas. But this week, Uncle Eli was interviewed and asked about this. And as I've heard from my sources down at Texas, and as Eli just now confirmed, the Manning family is 100% fine with how Sark is treating Manning. And if he redshirts this year, this is fine. In fact, Eli was even advocating it, saying, I redshirted my first year at Ole Miss, and it really helped me get a feel for the game, the speed of the game. And then I went on to start for 3 years. And so it's really interesting for a guy that's never set foot on the field yet, how much people are worried about when he's going to play. And right now, he's third string. I mean, Malik Murphy got to come in for a little bit and play against Baylor last week. But I just wanted to give you that update on what a class guy Arch was. And then, and like I said, the Manning family has no problem with if Arch redshirts this year. So the fans just need to, figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, look, Eli didn't play until his third year at Ole Miss. He sat 2 years. Romero Miller was the quarterback there at Ole Miss, and so he took a red shirt. The next season, he did not play until the bowl game when Ole Miss got down 42-7 against West Virginia at halftime in the bowl game, and that was his first snap as an Ole Miss Rebel. Was at the very end of his second year during the bowl game, and Ole Miss almost came back. They lost 42-38, and that was the beginning of the Eli Manning era at Ole Miss. But yes, as to the Mannings, they don't care if Arch is redshirted this year. They want everybody brought around slowly. The reason that Peyton got in so quickly is because the quarterback ahead of him got hurt there in that UCLA game. So
Colquitt and
Helton. Yeah, two of them. They're not worried about how quickly Arch gets on the field. And yes, they're missed dearly at Ole Miss. As you know, that's the first family for Ole Miss, and for them to be roaming the sidelines at Texas is hurtful. That's like saying Russia is at your school banquet. I mean, it is not, it is still talked about daily on the message boards here at Ole Miss, and where the Manning site and how many apartments and condos they still have in Oxford, and were they at the Texas game, and is there a chance that Arch is going to transfer back next year, and all this kind of stuff. So that is a sore subject amongst the Ole Miss base for sure.
Like, I had a question here. Tom Landry in Gulfport, Mississippi. Talk about Quinshon Judkins is who it meant. He corrected it. Quinshon Judkins, the sophomore running back out of Park Crossing, right outside of Montgomery near the shorter exit on 85. As you said, when they write the book at Auburn and Alabama on the player that they regret most not recruiting and offering a scholarship to, it's got to be Quinshon Judkins. 1,600 yards rushing. I put him up there as a freshman. Herschel Walker, Bo Jackson ran for 853 yards and a wishbone. He wasn't that. He's one of the top 3 or 4 all time this year, new blocking schemes and everything. But you cannot keep a great player like that, like a great thoroughbred horse. You can't keep him tied up in the backyard on a tether. You got to let him run. I look for him to have a breakout game. This is just my opinion. But they got to put him in an offense where it can happen. But, again, it's time for Ole Miss to have a breakout game. Mississippi State saw what happened when LSU gets everything together.
Yeah. I mean, LSU, their upside is they're probably the best team in the country. Their downside is what we saw a lot against Arkansas and Florida State. So they're, they play all kind of different ways. They can play really, really high, and they can play, back to the levels everybody else. So it's kind of an interesting phenomenon to watch them this season. But yes, I mean, LSU is scary good. Their upside is even higher than Georgia's, I believe. I think Jaden Daniels there is the best quarterback in America outside of USC over there and Williams, and so it's going to be an interesting matchup as far as that. I really do think they're going to have a spot for Daniels like they did last weekend against Alabama for Milroe. I look for a lot of the same players, Tennyson and Suntaran Perkins, to spy Daniels to kind of negate that running game that he can present there. But that's on that side of the ball. And then on the other side of the ball, as we talked about, the running game for Ole Miss, because what LSU can do is get after the passer. And if Ole Miss is in 3rd, 6th, 8th, 10 all day long like they were against Alabama, they think Alabama's pass rush was ferocious. I mean, it's you get those Wingo and Mason Smith, and as we know, Harold Perkins getting after the quarterback on 3rd and longs consistently, and it's going to be exactly what happened in that state game. They will shut you down.
Well, and the biggest thing is how long is Trey Harris out for?
Trey Harris is back, but he only played 5 snaps last weekend against Alabama, and that is Ole Miss's A.J. Browne type player. The guy that DBs bounce off of, that you can throw a bubble screen and he goes 80 yards on. So it's that is that hurts Ole Miss's offense without a question, and that puts even more an emphasis on getting that ground game going where it can be third and manageable, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, and just getting the defenses out of these too high shells that they're seeing right now. So they got to get into some favorable defensive schemes that right now they're not having to commit extra guys to the box, because Ole Miss is just, they haven't been able to get that ground game going, and you can't get Judkins going when he touches the ball and there's somebody hitting him, and then when he shakes him loose and the next step there's another defender hitting him. You can't get going playing that type, and that's why Judkins is frustrated, and I don't blame him.
Bo?
I was going to, Yancy, you probably, just a little side note too. You remember Mississippi State and Alabama and LSU and Ole Miss used to play like in the first or second weekend in November in Jackson every year. So those days are gone. Deion Sanders and Jackson State took over Mississippi Memorial Stadium, and they both schools built the big camp, enlarged the campus stadium. But that was always the traffic in Jackson. Rob's probably been Ken. It was worse than Texas OU. People trying. 62,000 people trying to get out of there. 62,000 people trying to get in.
Yeah, that was an engineering marvel.
It was amazing. But
Bo, did you know this? When the two schools were playing in Jackson, and yes, compound inflation and everything else in today's market goes up, but the square prices to own a building on the square back then was $72.
Good.
And the last game they played in Jackson, you know what it's worth now? $1,180 per foot. So that lets you know what happened when they decided to move the big games from Jackson to Oxford and to Starkville. And I'm sure the stories are the same there in Starkville. It's just both Starkville and Oxford took off, and that was a great decision by both universities to move those games out of there.
Yancy, one other one too. You guys will love this, Rob and Ken. Ken's probably seen this in the Manning book. Peyton was being recruited very heavily by Texas when John Malkovich, one of Ken's favorite coaches, was down there. Made a quick exit in 1997 after winning the Big 12 the year before. But Texas had one of the first large message boards in the end zone, and they had a giant picture of Peyton Manning up there smiling with the Texas uniform super. And Olivia, his mother, said, "Where do we sign?" So there's a long history of the Mannings in Texas, I guess.
Well, how'd that work out?
Yeah. He went to the wrong
started
UT.
like this.
He went to the wrong UT.
Well, I think that you look at all the stuff that is happening in college football. You talk about those games you used to have in Jackson and all. Those were fun games. And I look at where we're going. It'll work out. Fans are going to go. They're going to make whatever that they're dealt great. $70 a square foot to $1,180 a square foot. This is a great country, folks. You can have a piece of land that you don't think is any good for farming, for rice or beans or cotton. But if somebody wants to build houses or condos on it, hey man, absolutely. It's worth everything you want me to. If you want to pay me, if it's the right price. And
just don't sell it to the Chinese.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that what y'all are saying, and this is, Ole Miss and LSU, Mississippi State. You pick the schools around the country. The fans, when your program has arrived, when they're not talking about who you're playing, they're just talking about going to see Ole Miss or Texas or Memphis or Mississippi State. That's what you want your program to be. And we've about run out of time. It flies by. But guys, Ken, where are you going to be covering this weekend?
I'm going to be at KU and UT, And then starting on Monday, it's all Texas OU all the time through next Saturday. So follow me at Texas Six-Man Ken. That's my Twitter handle. I still call it Twitter. I'm old school. And then FWAA.org is our great website for Football Writers of America. A lot of good stuff on there.
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing, man. People read, and I love this comment that just came in from gotta love these names, and I don't know who these people. Cliff Clavin. In Natchez, Mississippi. The Magnolia Bowl is pure Southern. You really can't. I mean, that's about as Southern as it gets. Ken, that'll be great stuff tomorrow live up there in Lawrence, Kansas. And Bo, let them know how they can follow you. And Yancy, I'll let you tag out and take us to the locker room. And before we do it, I got to tell y'all, man, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Do yourself, your family, and your children a favor. When you put them at bed at night, read them the United States Constitution. Mm-hmm. Learn about civics, your responsibilities, and your obligations. We have a lot of rights, but we got a lot of responsibilities. Your number one responsibility is to raise your family understanding that America is the greatest country in the history of the world. Ain't no debate about it. But Bo, say something, and then Yancy, you do it, and we'll be out of here.
Okay. X Twitter at Bo Carter 52, and also the sports page DFW and the Texas Sports Daily. Anywhere you want to go.
Love it, man. And Yancy. Oh, we've lost Yancy.
Sorry.
We lost Yancy. He may have, aliens may have got him or something like that. Or the Minders, if we were in Beijing or Moscow, the Minders may have got him because that is not too much fun on this radio station. Yeah. But anyway, great discussion. This is what I think the takeaway from today is. Love, you're not going to get this kind of insight about the Mannings, what you said, Ken and Bo. That's powerful stuff. And you know what they mean to Ole Miss and to Tennessee and to New Orleans and Isidore Newman and St. Charles Avenue. That's what I love is we're able to get information real time. Ken, as Gomer Pyle would say, thank you from Sylacauga, Alabama. You know what Sylacauga is known for, don't y'all?
No.
It's the marble capital of the world. And they have the Miss Marble beauty pageant. Hello, I'm Miss Marble. And by the way, Audrey, our oldest daughter, Mallory, is still hurt by getting second place in the best looking, prettiest baby in Weiner, Arkansas at the Rice Festival. And she turned out really well, but I'm going to say still hurts her, Miss Rice Festival. But you got to love the best one I know of, Headland, Alabama, Houston County, Miss Peanut.
There you go.
You're damn right. So anyway, hey guys, great show. Thanks everybody for listening, for watching. Get out, support all of our sponsors. Join Club 250 wherever you're going this weekend. Remember what kind words and kind deeds can do. You can make a positive impact on other people. And junk in your head, junk out. Positive in, positive out. Turn off the negative, bring in the positive. Until tomorrow morning. Let me just say we are out of here, and I'm trying to find the end button, and I'll do it. See you tomorrow.